Is it necessary? Well, I'm going to have to adjust here because...
Yeah, you got to get more centered in the frame because otherwise you look like Toad from Mario Kart.
It doesn't help that this seat is almost on the floor either.
I can do nothing about that.
Well...
There's a lot of movie magic I can do. That's not one of them.
Nope. We went down. Hold on.
Have you used a chair before?
I have not. I got to sit on a book or something.
What? Do not sit on a book. Actually, sit on two.
Sit on a book? Here. On a pillow.
This is the first time in Sanctum history where the guest host has needed a booster seat.
Yeah, it's
Remember when we used to go to restaurants and they'd be like, "Do you want a booster?" No.
a long time
No, I don't.
ago.
All right, Home Dizlet, you ready for this? It's too late for you, kid. We're already in the house.
Okay, come and get me. I'm really scared.
You better come out and pound me. Welcome, boys and girls, to the Sanctum Sanctorum podcast where comics and Christ culture collide. I am your host, Joey, and I have a special guest host with me today. Joining me is my sister, my original co-host in life. We go way back, like womb-level stuff. We are womb mates. She's been there for all of it, and she's a giant pain in the rumpus. Nikki Tranquilla, welcome to the show.
Hi. This is very new. I don't know how to do this, so thank you for having me.
You're going to be great. You're going to be great. It's going to be fun. A few questions to start. First of all, how dare you? Second of all, who do you think you are?
What gives you the right?
What gives you the right? Today we are diving into a very interesting movie. As you can see from the title, we're diving into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But before we dive into that, if you've watched this movie, obviously you can tell there's some different things about this film from The Avengers or from Captain America Winter Soldier. And that is, this film is filled with demonic stuff. There's very spiritual overtones and, there's straight up occult things. But how do we feel about that? How do we feel about the demonic in our comic book movies? This one in particular is a cross between horror and demonic, but how does that hit you as a viewer, and what are some of your thoughts around that?
Well, I think the most interesting part about having demons in comic book movies is the reality that it crosses over into reality. Like if you're going to paint a story and you're going to show struggles that the audience can relate to, I think it's important to have that kind of stuff, because if you don't, how does an audience relate to the struggles? And it's actually, let me think how I want to bring it in there. I'll be honest, I'm for it. I think it's a good thing to have in comic book movies, not because I think, it's just there for shock value, but I think they actually reflect something very real and valuable for us to glean from. Even from a Christian perspective, demons aren't just random monsters. They represent struggles that people have in this world, and that you can't just easily escape, and they don't always defeat them on their own, which is very true for this movie. I think that's what these movies tap into as well. Whoa. Because when you look at it deeper, demons are in these stories can be both literal and symbolic. They represent things like addiction, grief, control, like we've seen in this movie. Obsession. These are kinds of struggles that, they completely take over someone's life, and someone can relate to that on a base level. It's basically a visual way of showing what we'd call hell on earth. So,
Mm.
because even in a world of superheroes, they can't just punch their way out, because these are still things that people go through. So I'm
Not
for
every
it. I
time.
think it's a good way to, because as we grew up, the literal idea of demons, like they're fallen angels, they are people that are in hell. But I think it can also represent, what hell can be like on earth, and how each person is handles it, so
Yeah,
I'm for it.
like you look at this movie, and I think the films, the MCU films in particular, have always had spiritual elements to them. Like Thor has gods, and there's cosmic forces in Infinity War, and even the mysticism of the original Doctor Strange. I think what shifted in this movie in particular is the tone. It's definitely darker. It's more horror inspired. It's demonically coded for
Sam
sure.
Raimi, that's why.
Yeah, things like possession, corruption, spirits. And so I don't think Marvel got spiritual. I think they stopped dressing it up.
Yeah, I agree with
And
that.
it's because our culture has so normalized this with our films and our occult symbols. There's spiritual darkness is now entertainment. We used to whisper about this stuff, and now we just eat popcorn to it.
Hmm.
But the Bible does talk about the fact that we live in a spiritual world, and there's definitely more in this world than we see. What concerns me is the weight of evil, and I like it in this movie. It really shows the cost of giving yourself over to this
I
stuff.
think that that's important for Doctor Strange's arc, because his struggle is control, which we'll get into that. But I think that that's an important thing, because I think that's a base struggle that everyone has, and it just shows what happens when, like, you can step into it, but it will always push back to some degree, and
Yeah,
that's
and some people of faith in particular stay away from this stuff. It's like, no, I don't watch that stuff because you're opening yourself up to it. What I can't say is don't watch this film. Don't watch demonic entertainment. I think you need to be wise about what you subject yourself to, because, like we said, this is real, and you don't kind of know. I think of it from the first Avengers when Loki shows up and they talk about a door opens two ways. You don't know what's on the other side when you start poking things like that, and so if you can handle this, if this is something that you find entertaining and all of that, I think maybe watch things like this with a little bit more awareness, and kind of ask the question, what does this mean for me? What are the implications? How does this enable me to live more in the real world,
yes,
recognizing that we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces?
exactly.
Not to overglorify it, but just in a way to say, like, nope, this is real. And there's a whole argument, unfortunately, about the glorification of it. Like, when we put it on film, when it now becomes entertainment, are we giving it a pass and things like that. It's a complicated thing, and we're not here to debate that necessarily on the show. But I do think it's interesting that now, even as Marvel, something as mainstream and fan favored as Marvel is, stepped into this realm. It's just something to note, and yeah, it's interesting.
I think it's interesting too from the aspect of just a Hollywood standpoint, where it's like a soft opening to this stuff, because it makes it, Hollywood sees it, so Hollywood knows it's real.
Sure.
But I think that what's so interesting about it is, obviously it's hard not to go down rabbit holes and rabbit trails and stuff like that, but it is good to have that awareness, so that there is, not a way to combat it, because ultimately we have to figure out how to live with the spiritual battles and hell on earth situations that we go through. But I think ultimately seeking it out, yeah, is that's a very hard line you have to kind of draw. But to be aware of it, to have the knowledge of it, I think is important, even as a Christian.
Yeah. But audience, what do you think? Do you like demons in your comics? Drop us a line on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and let us know about what you think of the demonic within our comic books. Obviously, there is a long history of that happening, particularly with the character of Doctor Strange. But let us know your thoughts, and we'd love to hear them.
I would, actually.
But I got a plot synopsis that's going to rock yo socks off.
Well, considering that you think this movie is terrible, I can't wait to hear this.
I didn't say that.
Well, I'm pretty sure that I have more good than you have bad.
You might, but let me tell you all about this film in a plot synopsis by cueing the foreboding music. Here we go. Marvel's got a new summer blockbuster on its hands, starring a doctor who once took an oath to save lives and now spends most of his time wondering whose movie he's in. We introduce a girl who can open the multiverse, but only if she's in the mood, like an emotional Wi-Fi router. And our villain, a mother who's already said goodbye to her kids, but immediately says reverse uno, delete, delete, delete. I liked that one when I wrote it.
Delete, delete, delete.
In this oddly small multiverse where infinite possibilities somehow always feel like we're in the same hallway, familiar faces show up just long enough to remind you that they signed a very short contract. Reality bends, musical rap battles, and a corpse becomes a weapon, and no, this is not a Deadpool movie. In a movie where I audibly said in the theater, what the heck am I watching? Doctor Strange must decide if he can save the multiverse from Wanda, from himself, or from multiverse fatigue, if you can even call it that, in Doctor Witch and the Duoverse of Confusion. I mean, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Dun, dun, dun! Delete, delete, delete.
I thought you were going to actually trash this movie, but I actually agree with...
No, I always have fun with the plot synopsis. The plot synopsis, and I tell Chris this all the time, like, the plot synopsis has no bearing on how I feel about the movie. I just like poking fun at it. Because like at the end of the movie, when we rate the thing, usually I'm like, greatest film ever made or worst film ever made. But like, we should have fun with this stuff. So plot synopsises are always just a little cheeky.
I enjoyed that because that's actually, there were some moments where I was watching it again where I thought, this is not a Doctor Strange movie.
No, and that's a whole thing we'll get into, that nobody knows what to do with Doctor Strange ever since his movie. But
pretty much.
There's some good things in this movie, and you are our guest. You may kick it off.
Okay, well, I'll go with the good. Did you want me to rate your plot synopsis? Bleh, bleh.
No, I don't need your affirmation. I know who I am.
But you know what? Maybe you need the extra, like, head swelling.
I know it's a Hamill.
Well, Hamill? I would have said Ledger, but, you know, that's just me.
Get off my show.
All right, I'll kick it off with the good.
What'd you like?
Oh, well, I will say this. I know a lot of people don't like this movie because it is not the typical Marvel movie, but it is a Sam Raimi movie. And that's the thing that I don't think a lot of people remember when they watch that movie. Sam Raimi has a very unique way of directing. I mean, the pure emotion he put into Spider-Man 2, for you to feel what Tobey Maguire was going through, like, he captured that. I think he did that very well with Wanda's character, which is why I say this is not a Doctor Strange movie. This is a Scarlet Witch movie.
Right, and he was originally not the director. Originally, Scott Derrickson, who did the first Doctor Strange movie, was set to do this, and he wanted a lot more horror elements. Creative differences arose, and he parted ways, and so Raimi was actually the second director, but you definitely see his fingerprints all over this movie.
Yeah, like, the movie is chaotic. I will say that. The movie is chaotic, but it's enjoyable. I found it enjoyable because it's like, you know, because we got this hype about what the multiverse was going to be, but it's not even a multiverse movie either. It has nothing.
No.
it has very little with the like watching it again, I realized how much like the title was, I just don't, not that I don't
Misleading.
agree with it, but it just has no bearing on what the movie was actually about.
Well,
So
that's why I called it the duo-verse of confusion. It's like we're not in a multiverse here. We hop a couple, and you're like, "Oh, that would be interesting," and then you end in a. We're not on bad yet. Keep going.
no, we're not on bad yet. No, no. I will say this, like the biggest standout is Wanda for me. That's the
Hands down.
best. Like Elizabeth Olsen, she carried this movie on her back. Like her performance is, I think it's intense. She is emotional. It's kind of heartbreaking to watch the whole thing.
She's one of the top 5 best Marvel villains, hands down.
I agree with that.
And that's because she was a hero who we loved, who then was wronged, and we completely understand the motivation. Like, to shift her into the villain role was genius because we already had her established, and then to have that swap, which is why I think Doomsday is going to be really interesting, because we already have the base of we love Tony Stark. To then have them now be the villain, that's a genius move, but it works really well here, and she pulls that off perfectly.
And that's why I think, you know, I go back to it. Like this really was about her demise, her ending, her arc, and then to where she kind of recognized where she went wrong and recognized like I have to end this. But I think, you know, you fully understand her. You know, you even though she's doing terrible things, you understand that this is just a person at the core of their character who's grieving. It's somebody
when she's
who's
killing the stormtrooper level wizards, and what I mean by that is like the wizards that we've never met, and it doesn't matter that they die. When she's killing them, I'm kind of yeah, Carmitage extras. When that's happening, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's cool. Do your thing. This is great. I'm here for it.
I mean, I wasn't rooting for any of those extras because I was just like,
no. Wizard number 3 ain't gonna make it to Act 2, and that's fine.
And we're okay with it because, quite frankly, I would like to see her story progress. I don't care about yours.
Yep.
Honestly, I think at the core of it, I think really Wanda's story, albeit I would have fixed a few things. Obviously, that's just my opinion because I think that there are some plot holes, but overall, I think she did the best that she could with what she had. I have a feeling she probably had a blast being a villain, running through like tunnels, chasing them, you know, and being like drenched in oil and like just this horror figure that they ascribe to her to be. So I like what she represents. She represented like, you know, she is what happens when you refuse to actually acknowledge your grief, accept it. She tries to control reality instead of just to avoid pain. So I think that that's a really strong thing that kind of, you know, will grasp audience, which is why I say I think this is a good movie, because the deeper meaning of it, albeit, yes, it is a Marvel movie, but you had different directors, you had a different vision, you had a different style to this movie. So you were going to get a lot of different I would say different roles that the actors would bring to it anyway. So it's what makes her so compelling, I think, because she's a victim in a sense, because she, you know, she's gone through all this trauma, you know, but she's also a villain and she's also human. So it's a really, I liked the aspects of it that way. I liked the theme of exploring, you know, would you actually be happier if your life turned out differently? Like, I like that idea.
That's literally the only question Raimi asks in his movies. Are you happy?
I love it. Yeah. And I love it. It's great because, I mean, we'll get into it, but ultimately, like, Strange sees these alternate versions of himself and he's still not happy. So it's like, it's a really good, I like the theme of that. I thought that they did that well. I thought that they pulled that theme out really well. Visually, I mean, some scenes are just straight up cool. Like, I mean, I know that they could have probably done more in giving us about the multiverse, but they just kind of showed pictures when they're going through in America and Doctor Strange are going through. But thought that was really cool. That and like the music notes fight scene at the end. I thought that was visually cool.
I love the musical fight. I think it's such a creative concept. I think
I saw that and I was like, Joe's gonna love this.
It's a great idea. It left me walking away wanting. It didn't land perfectly, but I love what they did with it, because you can't make it the entire thing. But for what it is, I think it's brilliant.
I do too. I thought that was, and even though it was CGI, like it's appropriate for the scene. It was appropriate for the scene, like just the way that Strange uses it. The dream walking, like I thought that was a really cool concept. I've always thought that was a cool concept where they enter each other's consciousness.
It'll show up later, I'm sure.
It probably will, but I think that it's just a cool concept that was introduced. I think they introduced it well. Like you can understand how it works. Like I thought they did that pretty well.
Yeah, you can follow it, right? It's not like the multiverse as a whole, where even now, after 4, 5, 6 years, we're still not really sure what it is.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's the dream walking.
I think that was what was most disappointing. Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember when it first came out, like when the trailers first started coming out, I thought this was going to be a movie that answered a lot of questions about the multiverse. Didn't do any of that. All it did was show just like little pieces of what
it exists.
Another universe might
look
like. Well, that's it. We understand
this is your definition. This is your definition of madness. That's interesting.
What did he say?
That's the thing. Like Multiverse of Madness. Like the title, I don't think fits with the whole premise of the movie. But
we'll get there.
Overall, it's chaotic, but I enjoyed it. So that was pretty much my good. Wanda was the only good that I had in this whole movie, if I'm being honest. Like I like Strange's arc, but it's weak to me, so I put that in my bad.
He doesn't have an arc. 3 other things. You covered a lot of what I have. 3 other things that I have. I like the jump scares. I thought those were well used, and I actually remember jumping.
The first time maybe, but the second time no. They're not jump scares.
Well, why don't we talk about the original jump scares in my life, you piece of crap. You used to scare me all the time.
That's what big sisters do.
Yep, that's why we have a podcast now, working out our trauma.
That's it.
I like that, and I noticed this very clearly. It connects to something that we'll talk about later, but I like that Strange is placed squarely in the action. And this is something that you don't notice until you notice it, but if you compare Infinity War and Endgame, Strange is usually off to the side manipulating things as he fights. But in this movie, he's actually in the middle of the action, particularly when that monster shows up at the beginning. He's like straight in. He cuts the bus in half. It goes like he's in it. And I think that's a great shift, because before he's kind of like the puppet master who's just going to spin some rings and do some magic stuff from the side, and that's his contribution. But in this, it's like, no, he's actually the hero, so he does the actual work, and I liked that.
I didn't think of it that way. I kind of Strange is like a side character to me, but now that you say that, I think that that's actually true. He is more involved in the action. He is more involved in saving America, essentially.
He does save America.
Not the one that we hoped for.
Last thing I have, Bruce Campbell. Yay! Bruce Campbell shows up again, and I love it because he's friends with Sam Raimi, and they make sure that any Raimi movie, he's in it. And he was in all the Spider-Man movies, and he shows up here. So it's awesome.
Why is that, though? Are they just friends?
Because he can. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They started together making Evil Dead and some of those early things before he made Spider-Man, and then he shows up in the first Spider-Man as the ringleader, in the wrestling match. Then he shows up in the second one as the Usher. He shows up in the third one. And then to kind of walk through this movie being like, okay, it's Doctor Strange, it's the MCU, and it's cool that Raimi's doing this, and we like what's going on. And then all of a sudden, Campbell shows up. It was just such a cool moment to be like, you're still doing it. I like it.
That's fair. That's fair. I did notice him, but I forgot that like he shows up in every single one. It's like, oh, that's right. I know that character.
Yep.
Kind of shows up.
That's the end of my good. Do you have any other? Not good, not bad, just other.
I think my others were very, very little, but I like what I found were like really interesting about this movie was that it isn't actually, I mean, and it's kind of in the bad too, but it's not about the multiverse. Like, not the way you'd expect, obviously, not the way we wanted it to be. It's more about regret. It's about comparison. It's about, what if I made different choices, and Doctor Strange, like I said before, he sees versions of himself with more power, different lives, and still none of them are actually happy. I mean, he had Christine in 838, and then
sure.
I think that's the world. And then he got too far with the Darkhold and they had to destroy him. So like he wasn't even happy being Sorcerer Supreme and having Christine. So I think, that kind of hits in a sense because he's just not happy in any of them.
I like the theme, and building on that, I like the theme that every character here, it's Wanda, it's Strange, but it's also America. They're longing for a reality where their pain is gone. And everybody's dealing with loss. And so this idea of the multiverse is actually, can you find a place where your pain can be healed?
Yes.
Or where your love can be embraced? That's cool. Yeah. But it's not the multiverse that we thought we were getting.
Right.
So that's why it's an other for me. It's really good. I think it's a strong message, and I think they handled it really well. It's just not where I thought they were going to move this.
But that's the thing, like it's not Marvel. Like it's really not. I know it's Marvel, but it's really set apart from any kind of other Marvel movie because the message is so deep, especially after having seen WandaVision. Like WandaVision in and of itself is an incredible TV show. So when you have the background of that and then you see
the greatest TV show.
It, like we won't say it out loud, but it'll be the undertone. Because ultimately, what?
No, it is.
It is. There's this theme that even like they say it out loud in the movie. Wong says to Wanda, "You can't control everything." And she goes, "But I can." And she says, like I have the Darkhold. I can control everything. And I think that the Darkhold in and of itself, I think that actually it feels more than just like a magic book. It's more like it comes across as a symbol of addiction, I think. It promises control, it promises relief, a way out of pain, but in all actuality, it just consumes you, which is what happens. So I think that ultimately, I thought that was very well done. I think the themes of this movie are really well done, the deeper meanings, because, you're showing what grief can do. And I think that's really all this movie is about. That's why I said it was in part of other, because it's not really Marvel themed to progress a story of Marvel. It's more to show the inner workings of human experience.
Yeah, and to get into something that we have to talk about, which is it's in bad, so I'll wait. But yes, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I have a lot of other, actually.
I'm excited because now I'm probably going to argue with you.
I remember being in the theater kind of, just very confused by the tone. Like, yes, there were horror elements. Yes, it's a Raimi film, but it wasn't a typical MCU film, like you just said, not only in theme, but just in visuals. So it's not bad. And in fact, looking back, I actually really like it, but it kind of took me a beat to say my expectations are fully being subverted right now. And so I just have to be okay with that. But it was another. The Illuminati are other for me.
Oh, okay.
freaking Illuminati, guys. Like, the Illuminati feels like a last-minute fan service moment, almost as though, like, hey, we know you're losing interest and we're not doing a very good job here, so here's some cameos.
See, the cameos are in my bad. That's why I was.
Yeah, it's not bad enough to be bad for me. And they are kind of like, remember that moments. It's like, hey, like they were going for the Deadpool thing of like, oh my goodness, it's the Professor. Like, who cares? Like, does it progress the story? No, it don't. Like, the Illuminati scene could have been summed up with Mordo just, you know, explaining, hey,
you didn't need all those cameos, I thought.
But the redemption, I'll go on record saying this, the redemption of at least throwing them in there is that Wanda kills them all immediately.
Yeah, I also that's also like a subplot bad that I have, because it's like she kills the men immediately. And like the women are left standing, and that in and of itself for me was like, oh, so we're ushering in all the female heroes now again.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
With no development, like no struggle that they got to get to be the superheroes that they are. All the men went through their struggles and everything, but we just killed them off instantly, and now the women, we're going to usher the women in. And then
let's talk about the men dying, because again, it's not bad. It's just other for me. Black Bolt's line is, well, he doesn't have a line. It's technically
it just goes
it's Jim. It's just so clearly a setup. Like, Black Bolt can destroy you with one whisper from his mouth, and he can control you with one thought from his cerebellum, and he can fart on you with one squeeze of his booty cheeks. Like,
that's in my bad too.
The worst line, the dialogue, it was just a setup, and it's like, okay, what mouth? I remember it being cool. Watching it, it don't age well. So it's like, all right. But again, is this a term? The spaghettification of the smartest man in the world? Like,
the smartest man in the world thought he could defeat one of the most powerful Avengers. Okay, Jim, go back to the office.
Yeah. Well, it's just another horrifying death from a Fantastic Four character, because Johnny dies really badly in Deadpool. But one of the things I did like about the Illuminati is that Carter's is having a 50% off sale.
In the what? What are you talking about?
Did you get it? Carter's is having a 50% off sale. Peggy Carter gets cut in half. Carter's is also a store. 50%. Okay, let's move on.
Joke.
It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where are your parents?
It was, but you didn't get it, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, last thing.
It's funny when you have to explain it, I think.
Last thing is just the multiverse frustration. There's like we said, there's literally 2 multiverses that we're hanging out in, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And in a
that
movie
are slightly different from the regular universe we know.
Right, and in a movie called Multiverse of Madness, the craziest thing we get are that traffic lights are reversed and pizza comes in balls. Like, that's it.
That's also one of my bads too. I was just like, what is this? Are they thinking
we doing?
We cannot handle it? That we can't handle the intricate web of the details of the multiverse? Like, then why call it the multiverse? Because it has nothing to do. We have no more information about the multiverse.
The multiverse will nod to, but not actually dive into.
That's it.
That's my other.
I don't think Sam Raimi could have done it, though. That's my other thing. I don't think Sam Raimi could have explained the multiverse the way it needed to be. I think that's for another director.
That's for another reason in my bad, which we'll get to right after we hear an ad from our sponsor.
Are you tired of grief? Missing your kids? Do you want unlimited cosmic power? Look no further. You need the Darkhold. Listen to our testimonials from satisfied customers from all over the world. I barely even think about my problems anymore because I've replaced them with unlimited power. Hear from other sponsors who say, I don't even feel overwhelmed because I feel nothing. Side effects may include yelling, possession, corruption, multiversal destruction, becoming the villain, and headaches. Now you need the Darkhold. The Darkhold, because therapy takes too long.
And headaches.
And headaches.
That was good. I'll give you a Nicholson.
Nice!
It's a good shot. But there's bad things in this movie.
There are bad things in it.
And
As
you
much
said
as
to
I
me-
love this movie.
You said to me there were 6 pages you had. We don't have that kind of time.
I didn't say 6 pages of bad. I just said 6 pages altogether.
Oh, okay.
That's
well,
all.
let me hit some things. That way I cut out some of your bad. I'll go first here.
You do it first.
All right. So the press didn't do this movie any favors. Benedict Cumberbatch openly said he was confused by the rewrites, the reshoots, the constant changes, but it's kind of a pass I have to give, but it is reality, so it's bad for me. This movie was supposed to release at a different time.
Yeah.
This movie was supposed to come out after No Way Home.
Yep.
Where there was more time to develop that there was a multiverse, not this is the first thing into the multiverse. And so because of COVID, you can feel them stitching together multiple versions of this movie and this story. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, to me, it does not hold well.
That would have made so much more sense, especially for the arc of Wanda.
Right, and now Spider-Man messes with the multiverse before Strange even has a chance to deal with it. And him saying, well, we know nothing about it actually doesn't really make sense. Wanda fully descends into evil, and that just feels accelerated. Like, whoa, that was whiplash.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, for this movie in particular, you're going to talk about the multiverse, which is your entire saga. Well, to understand this movie in any way, you need Doctor Strange, Infinity War, Endgame, WandaVision, What If, and Spider-Man No Way Home just to understand what's going on. So you can't walk into it. It got moved around, and I think the story suffers because of it.
I agree. And to piggyback off of that, I think that they really did an injustice. They did as well as I think Elizabeth Olsen did as well as she could, but they really did an injustice to her story because you're literally getting off of WandaVision, and then all of a sudden I was going to say something bad, but she's literally knee deep in Darkhold and she's already crossed over. So it's like, so for me, I watched it and I was like, when did she, like, because we knew in one of the post-credit scenes that she was looking at the Darkhold, but I think that to do her character more justice would have been better to have, what made her, I mean, we know she wants to find her kids, but where is that line that she crosses over to where she's now sacrificing people, she's going after people and killing people? Like, where does that, like, I felt like that
escalated really fast.
It did. It went so far, and I think that's why I didn't like this movie initially, because I remember thinking, like, what the hell? Like, Wanda just literally came to grips with the fact that she was hurting people in WandaVision.
And that she's the Scarlet Witch and that she doesn't need anybody else, and she will process her grief, and now all of a sudden, because of a book, she's the most dangerous villain in the multiverse? What?
And that's the other thing. It's like at the end of WandaVision, she's saying she wants to be better. But in actuality, she's not. She goes on and she becomes, so I wanted to see, like, where did that, because it's hypocritical, right? She says she wants to be better, but then she's looking at the Darkhold. Where did that cross over? Is it just
Who do you think you are?
Well, that's it.
What gives you the right? That's it. And you start poking at her in particular, and I have a bunch of issues with her, but summing them up, why doesn't she just recreate her kids?
That's the other
thing. She did it
like,
once.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, why can't she just have them in that universe? Is it because...
Why can't she go find Vision? Why can't she partner with America and find a universe where she doesn't exist but her kids do? Because, to quote the Ancient One, in this infinite multiverse, those options don't exist?
Yeah.
That's a hard sell for me.
That's why I kind of, like, as time goes on, the movie kind of does fall apart, because you can ask that question and it's like, well, yeah, that would still further the story.
Right. You ask the question, you start poking this through, and you're like, well, why can't that happen? Because the movie has to happen.
Because they have to further a plot that makes no sense. Which,
perfect segue into the plot gaps. It is not clear why Strange goes to Wanda in the first place.
Yes, it is.
Why is... No, it's not. It's like,
They say
Something's afoot. I'm going to go talk to Wanda.
no.
Why
Wong
Wanda?
says, "What were the symbols on the creatures?" And he says, "Runes." And he says, "This isn't sorcery. This is witchcraft." And he says, "Do you know somebody who would be familiar with this?" And then you hear the WandaVision theme, and he goes, "I think I might." So that's why he goes to Wanda, because she knows what runes are.
How does he know that she's a witch? They've literally shared no screen time.
He knew about WandaVision, like he knew about Westfield. Remember, he says it in there. He says, "Oh, we'll get you back on the lunchbox," because she became the villain from WandaVision. Sit on it.
Whatever.
Sit on it.
Okay, fine. We'll say yes to that. Here's one that doesn't make sense. Why is believe in yourself the solution to this entire stupid movie?
Oh, because they have to further the plot somehow without Stephen Strange looking like the bad guy, because they already had Scarlet Witch as the bad guy.
Wishes?
Witch. I just had a drink of water, so.
The entire America thing is just stupid. She gets scared by a bee, loses her moms, and now she can't control her powers. Give me a break.
And then she traverses every multiverse and can't find them. That she's gone through 72 of them and she still can't find them. They're probably
You mean
dead.
to tell me?
Like,
You mean to tell me that big one-eyed monster thing is not scarier than a bee? What?
Also, like, she's literally skittering backwards off of a huge building. That's not going to frighten her?
Apparently not. And the last thing with the plot gaps is, like, why does Wanda just suddenly realize, well, I'm a monster, so let's drop a building on my head?
Because her children see her as the monster. That's why.
Well, it's dumb.
It's not
I
dumb.
think it's dumb.
It stays. It lands.
How does Christine just suddenly know what to do? Why is she walking him through stuff?
Also, yeah, I have a problem with that too, because it's like, oh, in this reality, she's a completely different thing, but everybody else is the same thing. So Doctor Strange is still part of the Sorcerer Supreme, but she's a scientist instead of a doctor. I don't understand.
You want to try saying Sorcerer Supreme again?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, you can't. The multiverse just doesn't make sense in this movie because you've got things that are just slightly different. There are things,
which is probably the point.
That doesn't sound like a multiverse. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, the last thing that doesn't make sense for me, and then I'm done.
Okay.
There's not enough Doctor, and there's too much Strange.
Yeah.
And here's what I mean by that. The first film is really good. I really like it. But it establishes his humanity, that he is a man who is bound by an oath. And there's this really powerful scene in the first one where he kind of comes to the end of himself, and it's the breaking point where he's like,
"It is Doctor Strange, not Master Strange, not Mr. Strange, Doctor Strange. When I became a doctor, I swore an oath to do no harm, and I have just killed a man. I'm not doing that again."
And then in this, he just feels like he's a flattened plot device.
Move this man!
And so we've lost that humanity component, which is literally baked into his name.
Yeah.
And this just goes into the entire thing where basically after that first Doctor Strange movie, he's been in ensemble movies and he's not a strong enough character, or they don't trust him enough. So he's just thrown in with other really more compelling characters.
Yeah.
But he's not enough. And I think Benedict Cumberbatch even said that. He's like, well, if I'm even in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's a hard sell for me with a really compelling character.
And
but there's no balance.
well, that I agree with that, because I think they don't really know what to do with Stephen Strange, because Stephen Strange, especially the direction they've taken him, because initially, you're right, the first movie, his humanity is explored, and he doesn't make decisions based off of what's going to be better for him. He makes decisions based off of, what's good for humanity and what's good for the next steps. But then by this movie, he's fine with making incursions. He's fine with doing all of the, he's become more arrogant too, like that he has this kind of.
Yeah, he had a catharsis moment in the last movie where he came full circle. It's very much like Wanda, where it's like, all right, we've come to the end, but we need a sequel. So all that development is actually null and void.
That's
Well,
the
why?
problem I have with these characters, because it was like, well, we need to get villains somewhere. So we're going to make it complicated, and we're going to kill off the Scarlet Witch so that Strange doesn't have quite as big an adversary. And then what we'll do is we'll change the trajectory of whatever it is that they were supposed to be learning, and completely change their character personality, if you will. Because like by the end of Wanda, or Doctor Strange, you're looking at this person who's like, oh, I caused an incursion, but I have a beautiful sidekick. Let's go fix it. It's really stupid to me, because it's just like, okay, he's okay with making these incursions, and now he's going to go fix them. Like, what was the point then of
But
doing
he's not,
the incursion?
and who knows? Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like it was.
It's
like,
one step forward, two steps back, because it's not a contained story,
No.
and they are using these movies to tell a bigger narrative.
Yeah.
What that narrative is up for debate, but
Yeah.
I think you lost the character a bit, and clearly this is Wanda's movie. Clearly.
I agree. It's
She's
not a.
She's
it's
great
not
in
a
it. The movie should be called, as I said, Dr. Witch.
Dr. Witch. Well, and
Dr. Witch.
like, it's the multiverse is underused. Instead of exploring really different realities, it feels more like we're just moving quickly through chaos. Like, it's a very unpaced movie. Her ending felt
Would
very
you call it madness?
madness, as if I won't say that. I was gonna say madness as if like maybe a homeless person wrote it off the street. Really, a homeless person. Oh, what would you want, Pam? Somebody
You
more
can't call them
relatable?
homeless anymore. They are
think
called
this-
unhoused.
I have heard this, actually.
The unhoused community. We respect you. And let's move on.
I wasn't trying. Okay. Anyway, the other thing I have that I wanted to, yes, death is upon us. Death is over your shoulder. Is he going to be part of this now?
At least for this last point.
The cameos in this movie. Best thing I could encapsulate was cool in the moment, but forgettable after you left the theater.
And if Sir Patrick Stewart doesn't stop dying on screen, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah, that's also something else I feel they should have explored. Like, let's just stop for a minute and talk about the fact that Wanda outwitted Professor X. Professor X, one of the most powerful mutants in the MCU universe, okay? And she just went, no problem. So I think like that should have been completely dissected a little bit more, because what does that mean then? If she's capable of getting rid of one of the most powerful telekinetic telepathic beings, how is she then just crushed by rock? That's my question.
OMG science?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's just like, well, we have to get rid of her somehow. So we'll just, also her having this little boof of light afterwards. I don't know if she's actually dead. There, I said it.
She's 100% not dead.
No, she's not dead. I don't think she is. I think she's going to come back in Doomsday. I do. I don't know how, but.
Well, duh.
Well, we've talked about how she might be one of the witches, but that also brings into the thought too. You've got Agatha and you've got Billy, who's in that. How are they gonna come? How are they gonna bring that into it? I think that it's gonna be very interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah. But that's all I
Doomsday's a
have.
coming,
You and I had a lot of similar bads.
which is great.
Yeah.
But
like
there's
we're related or
the
something.
Lord is in this film.
Yes, the Lord is in this.
Did you find the Lord anywhere?
Did I find the Lord? I didn't find the Lord.
Do you have any spiritual stuff?
So
You could say no, and we can cut this.
no, I have some. Like, okay, so
Oh, well then do your job.
I think the spiritual takeaway, the core message really is you cannot heal by controlling reality. Obviously, you heal by accepting it. Wanda's story shows it shows what happens when I think love turns into possession. That's ultimately what I think. Her love for her kids isn't the problem. The problem is that she refuses to let them go. And I think
It's
that
a problem.
that's ultimately what destroys her. Because I mean, just think in the last part where she's yelling at them and she's like, I would never hurt you. I would never hurt anyone. But that's the thing, like she recognizes like, wait a minute, I am hurting people just to get what I want. And these children are afraid of me. They see me as the monster. And that I think is her turning point where she's just like, I'm
done.
I went too far. And so, and I love, and this was
Cover me with boulders.
yeah. And like, I love and this was part of my good. I love the part where she like just holds her like, and as a mother, I think it resounds with you more, but she says, know that they'll be loved. And I think that just breaks her even more to where she finally accepts, like, I'll never have them, but knowing that they will be taken care of, that they will be loved in another universe, that's enough for her, which is where she can come to her end. So I think that in and of itself, like even in our own spiritual walks, like I was saying about how like hell on earth and succumbing to demons and stuff like that, and the addictions and the stuff that comes along in our lives, you know, when you refuse to accept it, that's what life can become, that hell on earth. And it's not, sometimes it's not even a literal demon. Sometimes it's what? Social media. It could be social media, and social media, we all know how that tanks our health. So as a result, you're just kind of like, you know, I think they represent real and symbolic stuff. So I think that's the biggest takeaway. And I mean, even with Doctor Strange, you see the same thing in a different way. You know, his need to always be in control, especially, you know, like to fix everything. Christine says it perfectly in the movie. You always have to hold the knife. That's very true about who Stephen Strange is. He is somebody who has to hold the knife. He has to fix everything. But then he admits, even in the movie to 838 Christine, where he says, it's just fear. And that's really what it is. He's fearful. And his growth comes when he finally lets go of that and trusts someone else by going and giving America the green light, or the red light, if you will, about whether or not she can use her power, which is stupid in my mind as well. But I think that's the biggest takeaway is like no version of your life will bring you peace if you don't have it within yourself. So that's the spiritual I took
Just
away.
believe in yourself.
Just like Doctor Strange said. And then you too can make giant stars into different universes. It's that easy.
I love that. I love that for us.
Me too.
I also took spiritual content from Wanda. Everybody is incredibly powerful in this movie and wildly unprepared to handle it.
Yes.
No, you know, it's the America story, sort of, but nobody is lacking in ability. Everybody's lacking in formation.
Yeah.
Wanda is incredibly powerful, without question, one of the most powerful characters in the entire MCU. She can literally rewrite reality, control minds, and move between universes. Like, we've got a series where she can do that.
Yeah.
But she has no guardrail.
No.
There is no boundary. There's no accountability. There's no one in her life who's saying, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. And so what happens because of that? Her pain plus her power equals destruction.
Yeah.
And it's not because power is bad. It's because she wasn't formed enough to handle it yet.
Yes.
And that's where that hit me. It's like, that's not a Marvel problem. That's a human problem. That's a me problem.
Right.
Because we live in a world where you can get power fast. You can get platform and influence and success and opportunity. You can literally build something overnight. But formation, like, that's a slower thing. That's a hidden thing. That is a process of intentionally slowing down. Yeah. And when that happens, your gifting can actually take you somewhere, but if you don't have the character, you're not going to sustain it.
Absolutely.
And spiritually, this is why following Jesus is so difficult, because Jesus isn't in a rush to give you power. He's committed to forming you first. There's humility before you get influence. There's surrender before you get authority. There's character before your calling. God isn't just trying to use us. I think he's trying to shape us. And that's really what jumped out at me with all of this. It's not that these are bad things. It's that nobody was prepared to actually handle them. And so I think the question for us is not, do you have abilities? Do you have skills? Do you have power? It's what kind of person are you becoming to be able to handle what you've been given?
Exactly. And I think that that's what's so interesting about, even though that this movie was meant to be one particular thing, I was surprised that it was able to put those points down so succinctly, but also so, to some degree, very articulately, because kind of goes back to how Marvel movies and comic book movies are not taken seriously as a whole, because there are so many messages that can come from it, and the acting that comes behind it to demonstrate those moments, like even just something as simple as Doctor Strange, when he's like saying something to Christine, you can tell in that moment that he's lying about who and what it is he feels. Like, he's not happy. He's not. So he goes and searches for what makes him happy, and it's being, Doctor Strange to some degree. But then even at the end of the movie, when he comes to that scene with all the demons, I think it goes well with what you said, where he doesn't know what to do initially. And then he learns to harness it. And now I'm not saying as Christians we learn to harness darkness and stuff like that, but that's a moment where I think that's where you let God demonstrate his power himself, because we can't do it without him, obviously. But I also think that it's a message that the demons of this world can be harnessed to some degree, only if you will allow it. Like, if you'll allow the healing to take place instead of avoiding it. So I like what they demonstrate, but it's not a Marvel movie. It's just not a Marvel movie to me. That's kind of the rating I gave it.
Well, since you've segued, what do you rate this? Because we have to rate it.
Well, I was going back and forth between two different ones, but I think what I came down to was an Affleck. Yes, I know.
Interesting.
Good. It's good, but there is stuff missing, as is with Ben Affleck's Batman.
As is Toby, as is Kevin, as is Phyllis.
As is Kevin. With who? She goes to a different school. Carry on. But yeah, I gave it an Affleck because, as Dwight would say, good, not great.
All right. I gave it a bail.
You gave it a bail? I originally was going to give it a bail.
I gave it a bail because it is a solid mix of chaos and cool. I think it had too many hands on it, unfortunately.
That's why I gave it an Affleck.
But it's unique and it's fun. It's a fun entry into the multiverse saga, even though it's got plenty of issues. It's a good movie. I like it. It's a bail.
See, I had bail originally, and then, like, as time went on, I was just like, but I have so much bad about it. So I think that even though I personally enjoyed it, as a critic reviewer, it would have to get something, because to a regular audience viewer, it's very chaotic. But to somebody who actually knows what they're watching, it's not that bad. Hence the bail.
Well, there you go. But audience, what did you think? Let us know on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook what you rate this movie. One of the best, I don't know. It's a movie.
Keep trying.
Drop us a line and let us know what you thought. And, Chris usually takes us out by saying, remember, kids. Well, remember, kids.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs, and believe in yourself.
That's a terrible ending. Just like the movie.
No. It had promise. It had opportunity. You'll look back, and once Doomsday comes out, you're going to be like, oh, now I see what they're doing. Which sort of just gets me to a grand question that I think we need to ask, which is, are we even excited for Doomsday anymore?
We're not excited. We are just programmed robots now, to where it's like, another Marvel movie? I'll go see that. Because who knows?
Mona Lisa from Parks and Rec. Money, please.